register every editor and journalist that comes in, and we know who they are, and but now there's a complete other group of people. And when they said I was going to meet the bloggers, I was just like, meet the flockers, or whatever that movie was. And anybody sitting in a seat now is a critic and a jury and has an opinion and gets it out there in one way or another. And it's extraordinary because the democratization of news or fashion coverage is completely changing because of all of you. So, whether what you say is true or not, who knows, right? It's your opinion, and that's what everybody's entitled to. So, it's an interesting opportunity, and I guess the format of this is for you to all ask me questions and see what you want to send out and tell the world. Okay, it's going to be really exciting.
Hi, I'm Vicky with Fashion Brew. I'm just wondering how you think the fashion industry is going to evolve in order to stay relevant. I think a lot of us here have seen how the music industry kind of rejected a lot of new technology and how it negatively affected the industry. And what kind of steps do you think the fashion industry is going to take in order to prevent the same thing from happening?
Well, I can tell you that for the almost 18 years that we've been doing Fashion Week and 35 seasons, there's probably not one of those where people haven't written that fashion's over and fashion's dead and fashion shows are dinosaurs and nobody needs to see them anymore. And every season there are more and more people who want to come here, more and more designers who want to show, more and more interest and more content, and more of people like yourselves who are here because fashion, you may want to call it irrelevant, but you're here because there's something relevant about it. And everybody who writes about that stuff and says it doesn't matter, we're using all different new media now to show fashion, essentially they're all needing to use the runway footage to describe what they're talking about. So somewhere down the pike, that runway footage and that runway show still has to happen, because that's the essence of how the message gets out. And even when there are seasons where people say, no, we don't need to do, we're going to do presentations. We don't need to do that. I have yet to see a photograph from a presentation get the kind of mileage, outreach, publicity, and generate the story or describe the clothing, as well as seeing a beautiful model walking down a runway wearing a great dress. They know how to sell clothing better than anybody in the universe, and that's what the job is, and that's what the core of all this is about. It's about a business of creating news and trying to understand what the magic and allure of fashion is, and who each of those collections relates to.
Hi, I'm Kristen from Fashion Style Beauty. This is obviously the last time at the 10th at Bryant Park, and we're getting ready to move on Lincoln Center. Can you share with us any of the ideas or anything about the progression of Fashion Week and where it's going in the future?
What I will share with you is what is the common knowledge that's out there now. We're moving to Damrush Park in September. That we are in tents. We're not in buildings at Lincoln Center. We're in tent structures, not very dissimilar from what we're in now. There will be, to the best of our knowledge, the 3 venues, because that's what works, and 3 different sizes of them. We know how that works and what the industry likes to have their shows on. The final designs for the ancillary spaces, like the lobbies and lounges, and how all of that will work, is still to be revealed. And as much as I love you all and barely know you, you're all not getting the scoop on it. So you're going to have to wait till IMG Fashion is ready to debut and announce their plans, probably end of March or April this spring. Yes?
I'm Julia DiNardo, Fashion Policy. I spent the first 5 years covering Fashion Week as print and the last 2 as online media. And I noticed a stark difference when I switched over from seats to standing or no reply. Meanwhile, my style of journalism is the same. And how would you think that it's best for bloggers to really reinforce and solidify that our voice is just as powerful, reaches, as many people, if not even a more important concentrated group of people to, the brands, the PR? What would be your best tip?
Well, that's a very good question, and you make a very good point. I suspect somebody here should probably go in their garage and start putting up placards and start unionizing. You know, maybe you all come together as a force. You know, I mean, because there is a lot of truth in what you're saying. I mean, there are a lot of journalists and editors who take up a lot of, you know, first, second, and third row seats whose coverage is certainly not timely if they're working for monthly magazines, and, you know, are not getting the message out to nearly as many people as all of you are. But, you know, while fashion is all about change, it changes very slowly at the same time. You know, and that's something I've been talking about for the last, you know, years, and certainly in the last 2 days so far because of this impending move to Lincoln Center. You know, fashion people treasure the idea of change. I mean, our industry, you never know any day what season you're writing about and what collection it is. But yet, you know, I think we're all victims of, you know, if you go to Saks Fifth Avenue and they redesign the floor, you get really pissed off because everything you're used to seeing in one spot is now moved somewhere else, and, you know, they're making a change for the better, and everybody doesn't like changes. So as much as things change, they don't. But I think what you all do is very relevant, and, you know, we here, you know, I'll have to think about how to give you help on that, but we're the landlord, we're the hotel in this industry right now. You know, we build the hotel, we have rooms, and we rent them. And everybody else, we do not control the access, other than the photographers, who we credential so that they can get in and out fairly, you know, expeditiously at the shows. Although every designer who rents a space from us knows and signs something that, and every photographer who gets a badge and a credential from us knows that the designer or PR firm for each show has the right and discretion to not allow them in their venue. Because it's their room. If you rent a hotel room, the hotel can't tell you who you should let in your room or not. That's how that works. So everybody who's invited to every show is at the behest of the public relations firm. We provide a guest. We provide you know, I still say a list. It's a disc now. I'm still, you know, in that universe. Of everybody who registers, and I know that our team does register bloggers now, and I think checks all that, so you all are on the list. But it's up to each house to decide who they're inviting and who gets what seats, and, you know, and they sit with their charts and their dots, and, you know, and if you're all getting, you know, standing room tickets, you know, I think either it's what you write, and you're all communicators, so I think you all are the ones who have to figure out how do we let them know that, you know, we're not going to take this anymore. We are who they need to have in the some of the better seats. You know, I mean, I think it's, you know, we all grew up knowing, you know, what Vogue does, what Harper's Bazaar does, what Marie Claire does, and knowing the influence or lack thereof that some of the magazines have. But I think that nobody knows yet, you know, what ultimately the power that all of you have means, and it's up to you, I think, to express it and figure out a way. I mean, I've been here long enough that I know when regional editors get lousy seats, and, you know, the old print editors who would come in from the papers in Dallas and Atlanta and Chicago and Houston and everywhere, and they were always in row 7 or 8, and, you know, and there were stories through the years of them trading out invitations, getting over lines, and handing, you know, invites back to their colleagues because they were, you know, and they really were the heartblood of getting fashion news and coverage out to the troops, to the people in their cities and communities, the people who really go into department stores and shop it, the people that hopefully take their Amex card out and buy something, you know, and you know, and they get really angry sometimes, and they say, we're not going to these shows. You know, I'm not going to write about Donna Karan. I don't care if she's in the biggest department store in our town. If we don't get a good seat and get to see the show, we're not going to cover it. You know, and regionally, those people need that. You know, so I think that, you know, you all are talking to who? You know, we don't know. I don't know who knows how to properly describe it, get the arms around it. You know, and when I say unionize, I say that glibly, but in a sense, there is some reality to that, of all of you coming together and saying, you know, we're it. You want your message out, talk to us.